Welcome, everyone, to Ladder Daily Digest. We honor creators, and we are here today to honor one of the pioneers and one of the greatest creators in, we'll say, the Mormon spectrum for now, and that's John Dehlin.
People joke like, oh, you're the ex-Mormon prophet. I don't think ex-Mormons see me as a prophet. I think they see me as a flawed, broken, problematic person, and I think that's how I am. So I'm glad people see me that way.
I'm pretty sure that people see John as such a flawed person, they even start making things up about him sometimes.
It's happened once or twice.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me into another curiosity that I have is I've always appreciated the way that when someone criticizes you on one of your live streams and you put the comment right up there and you address it right away. I think all of us have to deal, of course, we all have to deal with critics because not everybody's going to love us. And certainly that's true of all of us. So I like to hear that you appreciate the criticism because you don't want to be held up as an idol. But I also want to know, was there a time when that bothered you? How did you deal with it early on when you got negative comments, when you were just starting out and trying to make it? How did you deal with that as a creator, and how did you not let that keep you from doing what you were doing?
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. So I'm definitely hypersensitive to criticism. And I really like to be liked, and I really hate to be hated. So in some ways, this is the worst possible pursuit I could follow in this space where you're talking about religion, sex, and politics and faith wars. I've been mercilessly criticized from the start for how long my podcasts are, for how much I interrupt people, for how not smart I am, for like how much I get the history wrong, for not being intellectual enough, for not knowing true feminism, for not understanding, for being racially insensitive, LGBT insensitive,
and the opposite, too woke.
Yeah, all that. And I make money, or I'm, criticizing the church or not being hard enough on the church. That was a big deal. Like, I was always being attacked by Mormons for being anti-Mormon while I was faithful Mormon, and the ex-Mormons hated me because they felt like I was an apologist. And all I can say is you just develop thick skin over time, and you really do become insensitive to a lot of that. Although I really do love feedback, and when I'm doing something wrong, I want to hear it because I really am committed. I don't think you can, for creators out there that want to be successful, criticism is like gold for helping you create a better product. So you're dumb if you ignore criticism. You just have to be able to filter out mean-spirited criticism that's not given in good faith. And usually you can tell people like that. They're just unreasonable and their criticisms are just unfair. You want to just have that roll off your back like water off the back of your duck. But if somebody writes in and says that thumbnail's insensitive, or that the way you meet with women one-on-one and ask them about sexual stuff, that reminds me of bishops. You want to go, whoa, maybe I should have female co-hosts when I'm talking alone to a woman about sexual stuff. Like, you want to improve with that type of feedback. So it's really healthy. You ignore the dumb stuff. You learn to accept the good stuff. But the other thing is the more you get better, the more people will watch you, the more they'll want to donate. So it's really important to listen to and accept feedback. It's crucial to success.
Even the feedback that's not in good faith is useful in a way. It almost shows you that you're doing the right thing, or you are triggering the right kinds of people, or maybe the wrong kinds of people. And I don't want to say that about all criticism, because it can be easy. I see people fall into that trap that any criticism means that I'm right and I'm doing the right thing. The flat earth community kind of sees that as, a validation. So And I think also maybe just not taking it personally. I remember the first time when I started off with Mormonism Live, the community was very positive and very accepting of me. So almost everything across the board was positive. And I remember the first comment on like a Facebook post where someone was like, I love when Maven pops up. I love what she has to share. And then there was someone that had written underneath it something like, I don't really care for her. And I remember feeling kind of hurt when I read that. And I was just like, well, and initially, just for that second, I kind of took it personally, like, well, what's wrong with you? And like, I'm barely on anyway, but just like, why would you say that? But I just kind of took a step back and was just like, nobody is everybody's cup of tea. Even if you're doing everything perfectly, there's just going to be people that you're not their person. You're not going to reach them. And so I realized this isn't anything that this person is doing to me by not liking me. That's fine. And it's, that's going to happen. And they're still a good person, even if they don't care what I bring to something. So
yeah, that's great. That's great. I'll just say one other piece of feedback for creators is block. I used to get so much hate for blocking people, but I don't apologize for blocking people anymore. If somebody writes in and says, hey, John, you used a word that was insensitive, I thank them for it. If somebody writes in and says, John, you're just in it for the money, and you're an abusive human and you hate everyone and you eat children, I block them immediately. Like, I don't suffer fools, I don't feed the trolls, and I feel no hesitation. If somebody's going to lie about me, smear me, defame me, immediate block. Don't spend any time with them, because it drains. You do have to preserve your energy, your time, and your morale. And you just can't spend your time suffering fools, and you can't spend your time on stupid drama. The other thing I just want to say about criticism and feedback is the most important thing you can ever do is create valuable content, not debate people in the comments, not second guess yourself and have a million conversations with a million different people. What you have to do is relentlessly be committed to creating a high volume of quality content. And that's the best thing you can ever do. And that's how you can respond to critics. And that's how you can get better. And that's how you can make a difference. And that's what this is all about. And so, one of the things I'm grateful for or proud of is just my consistency, that I'm just relentlessly creating new content, because you can also get stuck in sort of analysis paralysis. You can be insecure about, did I say that right? Let me spend 3 hours on a 1 hour episode editing out what I said. I don't even listen to my past episodes ever. Like, I remember when Cara Burrell was working for me, every single time she'd do an episode, I'd call her afterwards and she'd be home rewatching her episode. I think that's smart. I think that's good, so you can, figure out, what you did right and what you did wrong. I don't fault her for doing that. I respect it. But for me, it's like, on to the next episode. I ain't got time to worry about or obsess about or even edit. So just the decision to never edit my episodes partly was just practical. I had no staff. I wasn't getting paid. For the first 5 years, I didn't make any money off of this, and I had no one helping me. I didn't have time to spend 3 hours to edit every 1 hour. It'd be 10 hours of edits for a 3 hour episode. So I just decided I'm not editing. I'm just going to roll tape, chop off the beginning and the end, throw on the bumpers, and we're going live with this. And, that allowed me to be efficient and productive. And it allowed me just to focus on new content and not on getting stuck in the criticism. I don't know. It worked for me.
Do you think starting out, maybe I could see it being beneficial, at least for a little, because I do feel like you learn things about yourself when you do go back and watch something. I've had that happen before, where I realized that I would do either something with my face or say a word or something a little too often. But it can be really easy, even if you start to do that, it can be really easy to get locked in. Megan's nodding. I think we all we understand it, and we've been there. But I do think that if someone's starting out, especially if they're not used to public speaking or speaking into a microphone and a camera. I feel like it could be useful, but definitely not to continue on forever, because you're right. It just takes too
I'm
much time.
sure it's useful. I'm sure I would have benefited from it. I'm sure I still could, but I'm always like shortcut guy. If I just wait for the comments, and if my listeners hate something I do, they'll tell me. I'd rather just wait for them to tell me than have to go rewatch. I hate the sound of my own voice. I hate listening to how I interview or things I say. I hate it. So it's just the last thing I want to do is watch myself talk.
Do you have friends that are closer to you? I know, because on the one hand, friends can be maybe too good of allies sometimes, and be too willing to take our side and just discount what our critics are saying. But I also feel like, and I try to have friends that I know have different perspectives, and just so that I feel like I have somebody that I can trust for their opinion if I'm doing something wrong, or if something does need to change. So rather than just leaving it to strangers on the internet, having somebody that I know that may disagree with me, but still wants the best for me, and can tell me honestly, yeah, you went too far here, or this was a bad idea. Maybe in the future, don't do that. Do you feel like you have people like that, or in your like repertoire, I guess, or maybe you're far enough that you don't even need that? But
yeah, I'll
I
say
do.
One of the most offensive accusations ever made against me is that like I can't take criticism, or a cousin of that is that I surround myself with yes men who won't criticize me, and will just do whatever I want to do. Like, so for an example, like I've been accused of, like, let's just say abuse or harassment or whatever. Like, I would only pick a board member who would have zero tolerance for abuse. I would only pick a board member who would have zero tolerance for any financial impropriety. I pick people to surround me who would never let me be abusive or dishonest, who would call me on my garbage. That's who I surround myself with. That's who Clint Martin is. That's who Carrie Whitbeck is. Go through my past boards. Kim Turner, Nadine McCombs Hansen, Natasha. Anyone who's been on my past board.
Pretty spicy, and I feel like she would.
Who?
Natasha. She's been on the board, right?
Natasha. Yeah.
She'll tell you what she thinks.
100%. Like, I only want people that, your board of directors is there to keep you out of trouble. Somebody told me that really early on, to keep you from fraud, keep you from abuse, keep you from financial malfeasance. So I've never had a board member, if I was a tiny bit abusive or snuck a little bit of money here or there, I've never chosen a person who wouldn't do anything other than just call me out and immediately resign. And that's who I surround myself with. The people that I work with, my family, Margie, I don't think I've ever been accused by people who care about me that I can't take criticism gracefully. I think that's actually, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think that's a talent of mine. That's a positive trait of mine. So when people accuse me of like surrounding myself with yes men and not being able to take criticism, I just think that's way off of who I am. And that just tells me those people don't know me.
Yeah. I just want to check in as far as we're going for time. I think maybe this could be a good place to end, and unless we don't any last questions from Megan or Gene, or if you do have a little bit more time, we could ask about maybe advice or things that you've noticed about other podcasters coming into this scene, especially like you said, when you started, there were like 3 other podcasts that you found. And so since you joined, and you are, I think, the largest and the longest running, at least as far as Mormonism goes, now we see like an explosion of creators and different content platforms out there. So we can also talk about that, about trends you've noticed or advice that you would give. But if you're short on time, we can wrap it up here, and we can.
No, I planned on a 2-hour interview, so I've got another 30 to 40 minutes, but whatever you guys want for your show.
Gene or Megan, anything personal about John you want to ask about before moving to like the general observations or advice?
Yeah, no, I was gonna. I didn't have any more personal questions, but that was gonna be my next question. Was gonna be that, John, you've been around for such a long time. You've seen so many creators come and go. Can you share with us what you've learned about what works and what doesn't work?
Yeah, thanks. I love that question. I love trying to help people become successful creators. I'll say, I've said this before, I think my number one superpower is not quitting. One interesting lesson I learned really early on, those couple times I was getting a lot of momentum, downloads were really significant, the growth rate was exponential, and then I just stopped. You lose a lot of viewers and listeners when you quit. And it's devastating. It reminds me, Ross Perot was running for president back when I was like younger, and he was like having all this momentum, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, I can't run for president. My daughter is getting married. Blah blah blah." All his support disappeared, and then he tried to come back, and it was just totally worthless. I learned from him and from those few times I stopped how hard it was to build back up, because not only do people just stop paying attention, but they kind of lose a little bit of interest, but they also lose a little bit of trust. It's like, oh, he's not really committed. So I like to say that, since 2010, I've been going 14 years, really hardcore, without a week going by without an episode. Most weeks have 2 or 3 or 5 episodes. And just so many times, whether it's the excommunication, marital struggles, family struggles, financial struggles, board struggles, haters, defamation, antagonists, discouragement. I just haven't quit. So I think that's my biggest superpower, is just never quitting. And this space is so toxic. The ex-Mormon community is amazing. It's filled with beautiful people, and it can be a cesspool full of toxic, broken toys. It's both. And so the fact that I've survived 19 years, I think is a miracle. And so that's one thing I want to say about that.
Can I ask about that?
Yeah, sure.
I'm wondering, like, how is it, do you feel when you're going through something difficult? Because this is how I am. I know when things are really out of balance in my life, or I'm just not feeling on top of things, it's really difficult for me to push through and do these things, especially interviews, especially if I'm facing other people. It just seems like the anxiety just really peaks when I'm not doing as well. So it almost like hurts more to try to do it. And I also worry or feel that I won't be offering my best to an interview if I'm feeling like so many things that are going on in the background. So have you felt that way too, and you just did it anyway? Or like, do you have a trick for pushing through when you feel like maybe because of the things that are going on that you don't have it in you to provide a quality product, but it's the consistency that matters? I don't know. Do you have an answer for that?
Oh my gosh, Maven, I'm so glad you asked me that question. Like, if somebody comes to me and says, should I be a content creator in the ex-Mormon space? My template-based advice would be no. You'd be crazy to enter into the space, not because it's super hard to become sustainable, which it is, but just because it's so brutal. It's so brutal. Everything from losing, losing family members who are believers, losing friends who are believers, being demonized by believers, to toxic ex-Mormons who want to tear you down and criticize you and destroy you, to the defamation, to being called horrible things on the internet, just to the like power dynamics of like getting along with people. And then if you try and work with someone, then it doesn't work out. They want to destroy you and take you down, or shit talk you, or even just like you work with someone and then they break off and want to do their own thing. And you're just like, great, I just invested in them and supported them. And now they're off. Like it is. And then just the topics, all the trauma, all the abuse, all the dishonesty and the malfeasance, and just all the heaviness of the topics of racism and sexism and feminism and homophobia and the faith politics. Like, no, run away. Like my first bit of advice to creators is run away. You'd be crazy to be in this space. Don't do it. Don't do it. That's
but
honestly
if they're
how
not
I
smart
feel.
enough to listen to that advice, then what's the
Don't talk
next?
about me like that, Maven.
No, I mean it. This is not healthy. It's not healthy to do this.
But
for most
here's
people.
what I would say. Here's what I'd say, John, is, and I think this has been brought up before. The Mormon story is a human story. And that's also what attracts a lot of people, I think, that aren't Mormon to your podcast in particular, because everybody can resonate with the different things that we humans go through, whether it's because of belief or because of life changes or anything like that. And it probably is, every podcaster would say the same thing, about losing friends once they started giving their opinions on their podcast. That's what I think.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of us would be here if it weren't for you and your podcast. So if you had taken your own advice, where would we be? So
Well, I just want to say, like, I don't want to sound like I'm discouraging people
Right.
to enter the space, because I love it when people enter the space. It was so lonely for so long. And then honestly, when John Larson came on with Mormon Expression, there was more of an antagonistic vibe. Like John Larson was trying to be not John Dehlin. He would swear, he would talk about stuff I was uncomfortable. They were all out of the church. They were willing to like swear and criticize the church in ways I wasn't comfortable. And they would make fun of me, or at least I felt like that was true. Infants on Thrones also started out as kind of friendly, but then I felt like they became more and more antagonistic over time. That's been true about a lot of people. A lot of the people that I helped get started, helped promote, helped encourage, ended up becoming enemies, because I think there's this really good book called The Status Game. And this idea of like crabs seeing another crab crawling out of the bucket and they pull them back in. We're freaking bonobos. We humans are bonobos. And when we see someone else gaining status, I think it's in our nature to want to tear them down and destroy them, if not because we're jealous, but because oftentimes you can build up your status by invoking someone else of higher status and then trying to knock them down. So anyway, I love it when people join. I was lonely for so long, and I'm thrilled that we now have this vibrant ecosystem of creators relative to how it used to be. So anyway, but I still do think it's not healthy. I think most people can't survive. I think it's more harmful than beneficial. So I guess that leads to my next part of my answer to your question, Maven. I think because my parents got divorced and I think I had some trauma growing up, one of the ways I dealt with that is to just wall off my feelings and just do what was right and ignore my feelings. So I do think I'm more calloused to my feelings than most people. And people that I've worked with have noticed that I don't cry a lot, that people can be telling me about some of their deepest traumas, and I don't seem affected by it. It doesn't mean I don't feel things. It doesn't mean I don't care, but I'm really like top-notch pro compartmentalizer, and I'm top-notch pro at numbing my feelings. And I literally went to a therapist yesterday. I'm in therapy to try and heal from all the ways I've become calloused to my feelings, partly because of being Mormon, partly because of my background, and partly because of Mormon stories. So I don't even think it's healthy, but Maven, how have I coped with it? By becoming desensitized to my feelings. And that's impacted my relationships with my family. And I'm not proud of that. And all I can say is I'm proud that I'm now in therapy to try and work on that.
Thanks for being so open and vulnerable about that. I really don't feel like I've seen that or this kind of advice come through. A lot of people, it's just anyone can start, and it's click that button on Amazon or go get the microphone at Walmart. I think there is a lot to consider, and I appreciate you bringing kind of the raw side of it there.
Yeah.
Gene or Megan, do you have a?
Yeah, for sure. I think it is so important for people to consider if they're going to enter the space. But one of the comments you made, John, is so true. When we have this scarcity mentality and we think that the space is a pizza, and if somebody else takes a slice, that means less for us, so we want to tear them down. That's one of the reasons I love, Gene and Maven, what you're doing here, because it gives us an opportunity to collaborate and to help each other. And that's one of the things that I'm passionate about, is collaborating with other people. When I saw it happen for the first time when I went on Mormon Stories in October with Lauren of Hidden True Crime and with Mindy, we had this great overlap of channels where, some of Lauren's audience came to John's channel for the first time and vice versa. And it gave me this idea that one of the best ways to be successful in this space is to collaborate with people and to partner with people and to find those places where your channels can overlap. So I love what you guys are doing.
Thanks. Go ahead, Glenn. Oh
no. Yeah. I'm just saying, thanks. When I wanted to get Maven, more time in front of everybody, by having her come on my show and do the things that we did together, I thought that the honoring creators would be the best way for it. And, I'm not that much of a talent, but if I can bring on other people that are talented and other people who are creators, then that makes our show work. And so thank you, Megan.
Yeah, sure. And I guess my last question for
you.
Hey,
Megan, can I address one thing before you go on? Don't forget the question. Put a pin in that because I want to hear it. But I do want to address the scarcity mentality really quick. Is that okay?
Yeah.
When I was feeling threatened by Mormon expression or even Infants on Thrones, especially when I felt like they were antagonistic towards me at a few points, it was a terrible way to always just be worrying about the next criticism or the next joke or the next snide comment, and to feel like you were in competition and to feel like it was a zero-sum game. It was miserable. And then I remember Bill Reel, I interviewed Bill Reel on Mormon Stories when he was still an active bishop. And then later, as the church was getting ready to excommunicate me, Bill said, I'm starting a podcast. And I did my best to help him. But it seemed really clear that he was trying to fill the vacuum of faithful Mormon podcast once the church was kind of starting to kick me out. And at first I felt threatened by that too. And I thought, crap, now Bill's going to take my audience away and I'm just going to be an ex-Mormon podcast and that's going to suck. But once you see enough people come and either come and go or come and stay, you realize, okay, wait a minute, Bill's doing well, but I'm still doing well. And Mormon Expression was doing well, and I kind of miss it. And I'm sad Infants on Thrones is gone, And then, once I got excommunicated and I just got sick of this scarcity mentality and all the mean-spiritedness and all the divisiveness and backstabbing in with so many of the ex-Mormon creators, I just said, I'm going to try something different. And so, I begged Bill Reel to come back out of his retirement, and I did all I could to promote RFM, and I promoted Lindsay Hansen Park and Year of Polygamy. And I just said, I'm just going to promote everyone and see what happens. And sure enough, I helped grow them, but they helped grow me. And then we grew this ecosystem, and people found their own audiences, but somehow we all kept growing and we even grew more. And I also thought, more nonprofits are starting. Now Bill's asking for donations. Now RFM's asking for donations. Sunstone's asking for donations. You know what? Donations have only grown for all of us. And so you benefit by collaborating, not only because it gives you better content, but because it makes you look good, because these people become friends. These people become allies over time. They've got your back. you've got theirs. And then there just becomes this ecosystem where they all start telling all their networks about all the different creators. And then people come and find the creator that's a good fit for them. And so it's kind of like Silicon Valley, like Apple was there, Motorola was there, or Intel, or Hewlett Packard, or Google, or, it's no accident that all of these tech companies all sprung up around other tech companies. It's because there's this virtuous cycle of collaboration and an expansion when you no longer have a zero-sum game scarcity mentality. So anyway,
it's good for the audience too, especially because people have different things to bring to the table. So like with Year of Polygamy, I'm very weak on that subject. So I would much rather have someone come on that has spent the hours and hours and hours that she has, delving into this, versus having me to have to do all of the same research from scratch, basically, to do the same thing. So, yeah, Megan, do you still have that question?
I do, believe it or not, it's still in there. Yeah, I was going to ask, since you have observed this space for so long, where do you see gaps in the content? What are the voices that you wish were out here, since there are so many creators now?
Oh, that's so hard, Megan. Like when you were wanting to do your show, or Maven, I think you're incredibly talented and smart, Maven, and good-hearted. You too, Megan. Gene, I loved having gelato with you and your wife, and your knowledge of this space and all the contributors is just so good. Like, I'm constantly just stunned by how many brilliant people are around me that would do a way better job, I believe. And I really believe this isn't feigned modesty or self-deprecation. Like, I really believe there's so many people that could do my job better than me, but it's really hard to carve a niche for yourself. Like, and once there's established players in this space, it's really hard to make a name for yourself. But then also the hardest part of all, but the most important part, I was just going to say, one rule is you got to create content weekly. You're really never going to be relevant if you don't at least create some meaningful offering once a week. And then the other thing is you have to monetize. If you don't monetize, you're really not sustainable. So you need to be able to at least make a living off of the content you create, or you're going to quit. You're going to burn out. And what that means is you need to find content that people really value. And that's tricky. It's tricky to do that and not lose your soul. So for example, I could do like true crime all day long and grow and grow and grow and grow. I could, and this, Lauren Matthias and John, Hidden True Crime, they don't do this, but you could be, sort of like who's the guy with the bow tie that left Fox News? Like you could be a Carson. What's his name?
Tucker Carlson.
Tucker Carlson. Yeah. Oh. You could always be like a Glenn Beck or a Tucker Carlson. You could be shrill. You could be angry, spitting, frothing from the mouth, uncharitable characterizations, following, dramatic stories and violent stories, or attacking people. Yeah, anyone can grow that way, but then you lose your soul and you're a jerk and you're actually not making the world a better place. So how do you talk about constructive things, but keep it interesting, but not be repetitive, but monetize, but not be too angry, but not be too kind, but to do something new when there's 2 decades worth of content already out there? It's impossible. Like the minute that Oprah went from people throwing chairs at each other, like, you stole my wife, or you're my mom's dad, Siamese twins, whatever it is, soon as Oprah went positive healing growth, her channel pretty much ended. Turns out most people don't want content about healing and growth and positivity. They want nut punches to Joseph Smith. They want scandal. They want, attacks on the church. And that's a very negative space to constantly be marinating in. If you're always just attacking things because that's what's interesting or attractive, that's hard. So I don't know. It's a miracle when people are able to be financially sustainable in this business. And it's hard to find a niche where you don't lose your soul and you're still contributing. And I don't know a secret sauce other than releasing weekly, listening to feedback, and building a tribe. There's this guy named Seth Godin. I think that's his name. He's a marketing expert, and he's like, find your smallest sustainable audience. And you just got to pick a area of pain that a lot of people are experiencing where the need is not being filled. And then you relentlessly fill it. And you don't just create content, you recruit your viewers and listeners to join a cause. If you go back and listen to my 2010 Mormon Stories episode where I bring the podcast back, I'm not saying I'll provide you with content that's helpful to you. What I said was, there's this tidal wave epidemic of people leaving Mormonism. It's leading to divorce. It's leading to depression. It's leading to suicide. It's tearing families apart. Join me. Donate to Mormon Stories, not just because I'm going to provide you with content, but you'll be you'll be supporting a movement to help thousands of people save families, save lives, make the world a better place, improve the church. Join with me in a movement. That's how I did it. And that worked over time. And it's continued to work. But also, I've just been relentless about, improving my video, improving my audio, getting better at interviewing, picking new guests, always thinking about what's an interview that's going to be compelling. So many people want to do just what's interesting to them. They want to follow their own passion. And that's great if there's an audience that's hungry for that content. But if you have more allegiance to your niche interests or your passion, but there's no audience there craving for the content that you're going to be providing, you're going to be speaking into a void. You're going to have just dozens of views versus hundreds or thousands of views. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is, if you don't have enough feedback to keep you motivated, and if you don't have enough views to feel relevant, and most importantly, if you don't have the financial donations to make it sustainable, you won't last. And so that's why you just got to find the pain that's unmet, that's got a large group of people that need your support, call them to a cause, recruit them into a movement as community members, and then never quit. That's how you do it. And it's excruciating. And it's so hard, but that's the formula. Find that, never quit, and never stop trying to get better and improving. That's the formula.
And also, it seems like, but not allowing the improvements to delay your start or your continuation of content. I guess that's something that I do a lot, is I keep thinking I need this in place first, or I need that, or I need that. And
no, just
nope.
release it, fail fast, release it, just become a content machine, and everything you release, learn from it, and then do better the next time. And simple is better. And just get it out there. And volume. For me, I learned by volume much more than I did by analysis or thinking or contemplation. Volume plus paying attention to feedback plus become a consumer. Like, learn from me how I did it. Rip off my ideas and my techniques. I don't mind. I wish more people would do that, So just steal ideas and borrow and learn from other people that are doing it, and become a consumer of the types of things you want to be a creator of. Those are some ideas.
There you go.
I think that's so amazing. You have so much passion and enthusiasm for what you're doing, and you have so much knowledge having been in this space for such a long time. And I think this is going to be so valuable to anybody who's considering becoming a creator, and to the existing creators. We need to tag everybody in this.
The other
That's
thing
right.
is, the other quick thing is, when you're building what you do, find people bigger than you to go on their show and to bring them on your show. Take advantage of other people's networks. And when it really gets beautiful, like with Hidden True Crime, is when I can bring my audience to Hidden True Crime, and Hidden True Crime can bring their audience to me. I tried to do that with Mormonism Live, with Radio Free Mormon, with Mormonish, with anyone that I could. I tried to be generous with my audience, but I love it when I was able to get people bigger than me or as big as me to let me come on and share their audience with me. So reciprocation, cross-network collaboration is a crucial key to success and to
That's
growth.
right. Cross promotion, collaboration. That's the way to have the rising tide lift all ships.
And honestly, Gene, that's, when you helped me realize how generous you've been in supporting me over the years, which I was really moved by. I knew it, but I'm always just so busy. I don't have the time sometimes to be as grateful as I should be. Obviously, Maven, you've been incredible all along. Megan, you're a dear friend, and you've been amazing support. But Gene, for this podcast specifically, once I realized just how committed you've been and supportive of me, I'm like, John, you've been a jerk to not have been more supportive of Gene. And my hope is that you reach 1,000+ subscribers from this episode. So right now, everybody freaking support this episode. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Let's get them 10,000 subscribers and views. And let's help them monetize and
That's right.
to be wildly successful. And
Share.
Maven, I don't know if you're doing a YouTube channel based on some of your interests, like reproductive rights or whatever. I know that you recently did an episode that I was thrilled to try and drive people to. Megan, I know that you've got an amazing channel you're launching. Like, I want y'all to succeed, and I want to do everything I can to help you.
That's right. We didn't want to invite you on when we had 7 subscribers, because tripling 7 subscribers wouldn't have helped any.
I think you've given us a lot to think about. I'm almost overwhelmed with, I think, my own thoughts, just kind of running from the things that you have said. But any other questions from anyone else?
So one thing for sure is, Maven, you have your at Amazing Maven channel that is going to be there, and also say what the other channel is.
The other one I started it, and it's really just on the ground, is Dear Pro-Life Dad, and that is my reproductive rights based channel that I'm trying to launch, but I'm really having a lot of struggles, and I think I learned a lot here today from John, I think, to think about with that, and I also just want to kind of jump on board the gratitude train for you, Gene, for everything you've done again with this show, and I just feel like you've been behind me for a lot of this, and I wouldn't be where I'm at without you as well. So thank you for the opportunity, and thanks for letting me plug my new show that I'm struggling with a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe can I just also say that if this space, I've told many people I've worked closely with this, if you find this space isn't good for your mental health or good for your mental health right now, there's nothing wrong when it's time to let it go. I think this space is toxic for almost everyone. It's a miracle that it's a miracle that you, Maven, have survived as long as you have. You've been incredibly resilient and impactful, I should add. But also, your own well-being should always come first. And there's no shame in laying down the microphone temporarily or permanently.
I feel that, but I think part of the issue, and I do feel like in the ex-Mormon community, I feel like I've been treated much better than a lot of other people have. Overall, it's been, I think, pretty overwhelmingly positive. It is a lot tougher for me in the reproductive rights area, I think. And it is tough on my mental health, because I think I do have maybe some still unresolved trauma around it, but it's also really important to me. So I kind of feel this pull of like, I just really want to be doing something to help. So yeah, so that's kind of like what I'm navigating right now, is just like, I think my mental health struggles when I feel like I'm not doing something, but I also feel like it's tough to be in it, especially when there's people that, you know, in this space, what I see is, I mean, in Mormon, we see a lot of harm, you know, that we see families split apart and everything. And I feel like that's what I'm seeing in this other arena too. But not just that, but people's health and lives quite literally on the line, you know, we're talking about really rough stuff, but like, I want to make the world a better place. So I kind of feel like I should, or I want to be able to push through the darkness to be able to help. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about that. You can add to. I don't know what,
I mean,
you know.
Like, I took time off, so like, don't be afraid to take time off. And I'll just say, like, okay, there was this time when I was still active in the church where I didn't believe, and I was seeing all these LGBT deaths by suicide and all these divorces, and I was super tormented. It's like, I love the church. I want to raise my kids in it. It's been good for me. I'm trying to change from within, but I'm miserable, and I feel like I'm complicit in the harm. And I hate these meetings when people lie or hide things or say dumb things or bigoted things. I spent years in this tormented place about whether I should stay or go, whether I should leave the church or not. And what I realized is I would stay. I was going to stay in the church for as long as I could stay. And as soon as I couldn't stay anymore, I was going to leave. And ultimately they kicked me out. But what I realized is if it's meant to be, there's nothing that's going to keep you from doing it. But if you can't do it, then it wasn't meant to be, or it's not meant to be right now. And that's what I tell people. It's not like, the question isn't, how do I make my YouTube channel or podcast channel successful? It's more, is it something you have to do and there's just no option because you're going to do it whether you're successful or not? That's how Mormon Stories was. I went 5 years with no income, doing it as a side gig when there was no money and in lots of adversity. I couldn't not do it. So your endeavor is going to be successful if you can't not do it. If it's what you want to do in your spare time and there's nothing that can stop you. And if there's anything that can stop you, it probably will. And that just means it's not for you right now or ever. But that's kind of what it really comes down to, is it'll be successful if success is the only option from you, right? But don't kill yourself or wear yourself out, or harm your own mental health. There's so many other ways to make a difference in the world, positive difference. Especially starting your own channel is so hard. Like, another option is, instead of starting your own channel, being a collaborator with people that already have a channel. Like, I love the fact that I can bring on Alyssa Whitbeck or Samantha Shelley or Megan or Lauren or Mindy or RFM or Bill Reel or the Black Menaces or whoever. And Kara. I can pay them, Kara, I can pay them to come on. They can reach 100,000 people or more by coming on, and I get great content and they're making a big difference. So being a collaborator on someone's successful channel can be way better than starting your own nonprofit and trying to start your own channel from scratch. I honestly wish there was more consolidation sometimes versus everyone trying to recreate the wheel with a new nonprofit and a new channel. Yeah. Not because I want power, I don't. And not because I need more drama or headaches or staff, because I don't. But it's not efficient for everybody to try and start their own channel and their own nonprofit. So that's where it gets complicated. But that's an option I think more people should consider.
And one thing that Maven and I have talked about also is like crafting a message, right? I think that you with Mormon Stories tried to steady the message every single time is people have stories, and we're going to let the audience see their stories, and that's helped you, stay the course, I think.
Yeah. Well, I should also say that Mormon Stories would not exist without all the amazing people that have been willing to tell their story, like you, Maven, like you, Megan, like literally thousands of people have been willing to come on and tell their story. That's the backbone of Mormon Stories. And then the viewers and the listeners who have encouraged me, the donors that have financially supported us, couldn't have done it without you. And then my board members and my staff, like you, Maven, and others, Gerardo, obviously, and just all the staff I've had over the years. It's been a huge community effort. And I would be remiss to say we would not exist without all of those contributions. It's a community effort. I've been sustained by my donors and my supporters and my staff.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, it seems like we're running against the hour, and thanks everyone for watching. Share, like, and subscribe, and check out Maven's channel, check out Megan's channel. And if nobody's ever heard of Mormon Stories before, check out John Dehlin's channel. It's really pretty good. So anyway, thanks everybody. Have a great rest of the summer.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks
this
for
is
coming,
super
John.
fun. Good luck, everyone.